Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode number 17 of the Bill podcast. And today we'll be going through Jade, which is a templating engine to render out HTML. The main website of Jade, and if we go to the GitHub page, they have a complete documentation on Jade, how to install it, how to run it, and a very clear feature list. And this is exactly where I picked up stuff from, and I will be also using this intensively to go through what Jade is. Next, I also wanted to show you another website which is Jade related, which is Jade Sintex documentation. It lists out very neatly, like if you code in Jade like this and then click compile, it will. So let's get started, and we are right inside our project folder. So I've created a CPU, and before that, let me just show you the project we are making. This is the simple project we are making, which is kind of a derivative from last episode. It's really simple, but here we have two pages. One is the example of processors. One processor made in 1970s, 1980s, 1990s, and then is the home. And we will see how we can include many of the Jade features, and in fact how it will help us to have dry coding, which is DRY, don't repeat yourself style of coding. So let's get started and try to do this. So over here I am inside my project folder, which is completely empty as of now. So let us first create some directories to get us started. The first one, I will create a directory, of course, called Jade, which will be empty, and then I'll also CSS as well as img for images. Okay, and then I will create some files, so that will be touch, and then I will create let's say css/style.css, and of course I will also have jade.makefile, and we will be using the makefile file to kind of continuously compile our Jade. So that's it. Let us look at the folder structure. So we have CSS, inside that we have style.css, we have img, we have Jade file. I'll just make one more directory, and that will be inside Jade, and it will be called partials. Inside the partial folder, we will be including a lot of the repeated parts of our page, for example the header or a footer, or typically a sidebar as well. Alright, so that looks really good. All are empty, so let me just open it up in the Finder and show you. That's what we have. All the files are empty, and now I will open it up in Sublime Text, and there you go. So for the speed of the project, I will also include the style.css and some images inside this folder. So let me get started with style.css. There you go. And I will also include some images inside the image folder. And there you have it. I've included a bg.png, which is for the background, and then cpu.jpg for the 3 processor images. And that's it. So the first thing I will do is, inside the Jade folder, I'll come here and create a new file called index.jade, which will typically compile into index.html. So let me just save it, and let's get started. So the very first line that I will write is the doc type of an HTML file, which will be in Jade, it will be 3 exclamation and then 5. If we remember the page that we saw just now in Jade syntax, so here you see 3 exclamation space and then 5. Okay, and after this, what I'll do is I'll come back to my command line, and then all I'll have to do is index.jade. And once we do that, we'll see that we have jade/index.html. And if we come back to our folder inside Jade, you will see that, hey, index.html has been created. And if we see it in the browser and view the code, you will see here that doc type has been written and compiled beautifully. Now, before we get more into Jade, let me just talk a little bit about the installation process. So in order to install it, you have to first make sure that Node is installed. So to do that, we'll do node-v, and okay, Node is installed. If it is not installed, you can go to Node.js website, and there is a pretty cool one-click installation for Node. And this Node.js will also install npm, which is the Node package manager, and this will be needed for Jade. And so to ensure that we have npm, I will also check that it is installed. Alright, so I have npm as well. Now to install Jade, what we have to do is sudo npm install Jade, and if you want to do it globally, you just include the flag -v, and if not, you can just include this. Now I have already done this, so after ensuring that we have Node and npm and Jade installed, let's just check some information about Jade. And to do that, we'll do npm info and then Jade. This will give us a long list of information about Jade, but more importantly, it will tell us the version. And if you look here, it will tell you latest 0.27.6. And if we go back to the website on the npm and search for Jade, and we will see that, hey, 0.27.6 in the last 3 days. So that's it, we have installed Jade. So let's go ahead and play with it some more. And now I'll come back to the file index.jade, and let's try to set up the basic HTML structure. So we have already done the doc type. Now we will include the HTML tag, the head and the body tag. So usually we will start with HTML, and in Jade, in order to include the attribute, we will do language, or lang equals to en. Let's save it, and very quickly we will go back to our terminal and let me just clear it. We'll do Jade and then the file name, which is jade/index.jade. Alright, so here it says, hey, I have the new file rendered, so let me go ahead and look at it. Okay, so now we see that they have inserted the HTML. And now I will continue on with the head and the body tag, and maybe with a little hello world. So to do that, we will do we will indent it, because the head and the body tag will be inside it, like this. And inside the head tag, typically there is a title. So if we want to include something inside the title tag, all we need to do is write the word title, space, and then the title. In this case, processor history. Let me just save it, come back to our terminal, and I will do the command again. And let's come back and look at our index.html. Okay, so now it includes a title and the body tag. Okay, and lastly, what I'll do is come back to the body, and maybe with the h1 I will include hello world. Okay, and come back to our terminal. Render that, and now once we come back here, hey, our body tag now has h1 hello world. Now of course, let me now sidetrack a little bit. Of course, if we keep on typing this, it's a little bit tedious and it's not continuous compilation, and exactly for that we will be using the Jade makefile. So I'm gonna open the Jade makefile, which is obviously empty as of now. And inside the makefile, I will paste in some code. Right? So not to worry, what is a makefile? If we go and Google makefile, so let me just do that, makefile. It will give us the first few links and so on and so forth are really good to learn that. But basically, makefile, if we go to the Wikipedia page, it is sort of a language that automatically builds executable programs. It's of course beyond the scope of this episode, and maybe I should do an episode on makefile itself. But let's go on to the little code that I have copied and pasted, and I got this little code from the GitHub page of Jade itself. So if we kind of search makefile, they will give you a typical makefile that is they have created, and this is where I took it from. So you can use it, or you can use a slightly modified version that I'm using, which basically says that look for all the .jade files inside the folder Jade, and then you churn out HTML on a folder above it, and then churn out the prettified version of HTML. Now, what is prettified? Over here, if you see, there is no indentation of the code at all, but I would love my HTML to be indented, and that's why I have added an option -- pretty. So you can basically copy this makefile version and do that. Okay, so I have done this, and our index.jade also has a little bit of stuff. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come back to my command line and kind of copy and paste this code. So I will say watch and then make -f and then jade.makefile. Now, before we do this, ensure that make is installed in our computer, and we can do that by man make, which basically shows us the manual. So as it said, GNU make utility to maintain groups of program. Okay, and then just press Q, and you also have to install watch. And if you kind of once again Google watch, it gives an instruction on how to include install watch, which should be pretty easy as well. You can come back to the command line and just ensure which directory, which watch. So alright, so I have make installed and I have watch installed, and after you do that, you can just do watch then make. So watch will basically ensure that it will continuously do it, and then -f, and of course the makefile, which is jade.makefile for our case. Okay, so there you see it. It will continuously do the auto compilation, and we don't even have to worry about it at all. So let's do a little bit of change, hello world, and then press save. And this time, instead of creating the file inside our partials folder, so I'm just going to delete the previous file. Notice that they have created an indent.html in our root folder, and that is exactly what we want, and also the indentation is in the pretty format. So let me just go back to index.jade, and this time let us include our style sheet, which is really important. And once again, after the tag, we can include this rounded brackets, and this time it will be rel, which is in our case a style sheet, and then comma, we will include the source of the style sheet href, and in this case our source is css style.css, and let us save it once again. And when we come back to the browser and we refresh it, alright, there you see the style sheet has been applied. And as you can notice from here, the indentation is very important, and also there is a lot less verbosity in terms of coding. There are no double tags, the opening and the closing tag. All we need to do is just ensure the indentation and just code away. In Jade, in order to include comments, we can say // and then dash start of our content. Now this is what I like about Jade. So we can comment this, and we can comment our Jade language, and this will essentially not come up in our ultimate compiled version, because ultimately in our production there shouldn't be any comments, but in fact in developing it we can include comments. So but if we want to include comments to be shown, so we can save it, and let me just show you, and over here the comments will be shown. But I do like to comment it in a way that it will not show up like this. So our Jade will have comments, whereas the compiled version will not have comments. Okay, so after this, of course, I will change my title to processor history. And let me now go ahead and add a container which will wrap all our contents. So in order to do that, let's say I want to have a div of class container, so I'll do a dot and then container. I'll probably include this inside the container. Remove the comments, and let me now include a little menu that will be shown. So in order to do that, I'll do menu, which is HTML5 tag, and inside menu I have two list items, and inside the list item I have one anchor tag. So anchor tag, which is a hyperlink, and the first hyperlink will go to index.html, and the second link will be cpu.html, which we haven't created yet. Of course, I need to include the word inside the anchor tag, which will be home for this one, and for this one will be examples. So let me go ahead and refresh this one more time. All right, there you have it. Very nicely done. And let's look at our churned out HTML. So as you see, it's growing more and more. So let me now go ahead and add in a Google Web Font, which will be also linked in a bit like this. Okay, so let me just save and come back here. Okay, so as you see, it's not displaying anything, which means there is an error. So the good thing about Jade is that it tells you where the error is immediately. So if you come back to our terminal here and see what is the error, it will tell you type here unexpected identifier. Right, so let's just go back and look at it. So in our Jade, we have to do attribute equals to the value, then comma. Obviously I missed a comma here, so let me just do that. Now often when we have multiple pages in our project, we have to repeat our head code, the footer code, or the sidebar code. Now in Jade, what I like is that we can straight away copy this entire chunk of repeated code into a separate file and just call the file. So imagine we have 20 files. You don't have to keep copying and pasting the header code or the footer code. So why don't we go ahead and do that? So for this, I will just copy the entire head code like this. And then inside the partials, I'm going to create a new file and I'm going to paste it in right there. So once again, just make sure that your indentation is correct. So I have a head, and then inside I have everything, title and the style sheet links. So I'm going to save it as head.jade. So the file name really doesn't matter, just include there's a .jade file. Of course, after I come back here, I have to ensure that the head file is included. So in order to do that, I'll say include, and then the path to the partial relative to index.jade. So for us, it is actually partials / j head. So why don't we go ahead and create the CPU page now, so that when I come here, examples, we will go to the CPU page. Firstly, before we do that, why don't we go ahead and create some content for our index.jade. Okay, so after we paste in, let me just come back to our project page and refresh, and there you see we have the article. And from here, let's go to our second file which we'll create. So let me just create a new file, and this time I will call it cpu.jade, which will compile to cpu.html. And of course, over here we will have a very similar thing in cpu.jade as well. But if you notice here, this header 1 and menu file will repeat. So why don't I go ahead and create another partial? So I'm going to cut this, and inside partial I'm going to create a new file, paste it in, make sure that my indentation is correct. Header 1 and menu are in the same hierarchy, and I'm just gonna create header.jade. Okay, come back here and I'm gonna do include, same thing, partials / header. Okay, this looks pretty cool to me. So let me just arrange it, and after this all I need to do is just copy the entire thing inside cpu.jade, but guess what, all my partials for head and header, I do not have to repeat it. So inside cpu.jade we will include our CPUs, the 3 types of CPUs from the 3 decades. The first thing we will do is include a list, and in this case it will be an unordered list with a class of CPU-list. And inside here we will have one list item. Inside that we will have a div called CPU1. In the same hierarchy we will also have CPU list, CPU-list. And inside here we will have 3 information, so I'll include it in 3 list items. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and make sure that this is working. So I'm going to come here and refresh it, and there you go, you have it. Okay, and now I will go ahead and cut and paste for the 2 other CPUs. Alright, so there you have it, 3 list, and I'm just gonna come here and refresh it. Should be CPU info this time, so instead of list. So let me just do that. Okay, and after we come back here, okay, so I hover here and everything is working. So as you can see in index.jade, I have included the partials head and header, and just the content. And for cpu.jade, I also only had to include the content and my head and partial, let's say over here, and next time I want to include something else, for example a meta tag, I can just include it here and all the rest of the pages will be updated. Now the very last bit, what we'll be doing is a little bit of logic and data. Now wouldn't it be nice that if we could kind of loop through this? So let's go ahead and do that. So let's say you have a list of data. So in this case it is CPUs equals to the array, and inside the array I have some data. So how can you access this data? Each CPU in CPUs, and then just for the demo purpose I'll just include it in paragraphs. You can do CPU.year, and then another paragraph CPU.speed, and then another paragraph CPU.data. And we just have to make sure that we have this equal to sign here. So after we save, we come back here. Right, so over here you see that we have the 3 little items here. So that's the bit about calling the data. So all you need is the data in front, and then you have an equal to sign, and then you do it. So we'll try to incorporate this within our list items right here. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll cut and paste this right after we declare the UL. And of course I will also include the 2 other CPUs, and we will do the same thing. Each, and then we will call one by one, and of course we don't have to repeat it, so I'll go ahead and delete this. And in this case we will do li equals to, li equals to, li equals to, and then the first one will be CPU.year, the second one will be CPU.speed, and the last one will be CPU.data. Okay, so let me go ahead and delete it. And one last bit over here, you see I am calling the div. So in that case what I'll do is just include div equals to, and then the name, which is CPU1 for the first one. And I'm just going to copy and paste this for the second one as well. And I will include the div CPU.name. Sorry, it should be div. Okay, so because I've named it as div. So let's go ahead and refresh it, and there you go. You have everything churned out. The home and the example pages are working. So I hope you like this, and for the last bit I'd like to show you some links here. The first link is called CodeKit, which is a GUI driven application, very easy to use. So if you're using some CSS preprocessors like Stylus, Sass or less, or even Jade, you can try to use this. I have already bought it and it's really worth the amount that I've spent. It also has some image optimization and so many JS, which is also very similar to Jade. It is also a templating language, but it works with server-side JavaScript. So these are two links. And lastly, for the build link of the episode, I would like to introduce you to the slideshow by Adi Osmani. He talked about the new and improved developer tool belt. He spoke in Google I/O this year, and he really goes through the history and what are the current tools and development practices used by developers. So I highly recommend you to check out Adi Osmani. He also has a lovely blog with full of resources that I myself can't keep up with. It's really great to read his blog as well. He's part of the Chrome developer team now, I believe. And of course, follow Adi Osmani in Twitter. So that's twitter.com/Adi Osmani. So go ahead, look at his slides and follow him in his blog or Twitter. He has tons of resources as well. So that's it for this episode of Build Podcast. I will see you next week. Goodbye.